actually have any. It's dropping to see if anybody tunes in. Hey, look at that. That's us.
Actually, that's you.
There's Daniel. I'm gonna poke him. Sorry. Good morning, everyone. I'm gonna wave hi to you guys, so I'm gonna poke the screen. Boop and boop. Okay. Sorry about that. So, welcome back to Crypto and Coffee. It's been a while. Unfortunately, we had to take a little time out. We had a lot to do. And just to catch you up on some things, we have been working on a new version of the website. So please, as always, feel free to go take a gander and let us know what you think. DM me. Slide right into my DMs. Give me a giggle. Today we're going to be making a couple announcements and having a couple of discussions. Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I'm trying to come across. But anyways, my off-screen co-host.
Hey guys, sorry about that. I'll be there in a second.
He's running a little bit behind too. But yes, we're going to be talking about San Francisco Blockchain Week. And what else are we talking about? Sorry.
ICOs, STOs, the risks and the face time.
Sorry about that. ICOs, STOs, all that fun stuff. Yeah, but I would actually like to invite Daniel on. Can I actually go on and hold on? I have to lean over. I would actually like to go and give me a second. Sorry. Go live with Mendo Maker. Daniel, why does it say you are unable to join? Ah. It says that he's unable to join.
We'll ask him to request to join.
He did. Oh. And I just... unable to join.
Don't know what's going on there.
It's
Guys, bear with us a second. We're going to go ahead and we'll still be live on Facebook and YouTube. We're going to be cutting our Instagram feed for just a minute. We'll be back with you in a second, so tune back in.
Maybe we can try to get him.
We'll delete that one. We don't need that one. Sit back down. Alright, there we go.
Readjust it.
Okay, are you back live there?
Yes, I am back live here.
Fantastic.
Fantastic, but he's...
Okay, well, we'll have him back here in a
I
second.
know.
So, let's go and do a new intro there.
Okay. Sorry. Good morning
guys,
again.
We're back here. We're back here after a little bit of time. Thank you very much, Daniel, for coming back.
It's been a while.
Been a little bit since we've been doing this, and as my co-host was saying, we've been talking about San Francisco Blockchain Week, STOs, ICOs, the risks that face all those different kind of things.
Still says unable to join.
Mendo, I'm not sure what's going on. For some reason, it looks like you are not able to join our stream.
I didn't join last time.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there.
I don't know.
Well,
I will continue to poke the screen. Good morning, Eva Crypto. Give me... Yeah, I don't...
Mendo, you might want to try to close down your Instagram and open it back up so that we can try to get you in there. Yeah, not sure what's going on there. But just to, let's kind of get into a little bit of info here.
Okay, so yeah, let's talk about our first...
Give me 1 second. I'm going to try one last thing.
Okay. Yeah, I had already tried that at one point.
Yeah, I think I'll have to try to just log back in. Okay,
We'll
so
try after you log back in.
in the meantime, a couple of big things have been coming up here recently. One of the biggest is that here at the end of the month, San Francisco Blockchain Week is going to be happening, which is pretty exciting. We have both the CESC Security Conference, which is going to actually have a keynote done by Vitalik Buterin, as well as the Epicenter over in San Francisco proper, where there's going to be all kinds of fun stuff going on. It was actually at San Francisco Blockchain Week a couple years back that we originally had the inspiration that led to the Sovereign Network and what we've created thus far. So yeah,
I'm only sad I'm gonna be there for like a day and a half.
I know what's with that. See over here, we got.
I've had plans for over 6 months to do something else. Look, okay, it was really hard to get the tickets in the first place. I'll be able to make part of it. I should wear prosthetics, freak everybody out.
Oh yeah, for sure. So despite this mutinous little traitor here, who's not going to be with us for all of San Francisco Blockchain Week,
I should
KingRoyal Industries will be represented at the whole conference. We're going to have several people, including myself, Mindo Maker, and Crypto Goth, when she can get down there, who are all going to be over at the conference.
I'll have to find a ride down there in the first place. I'm going to get down there. It's just, a matter of when.
So, if anybody out there is also going to be at San Francisco Blockchain Week, please drop us a message. We'd love to meet up, chat with you guys a little bit. And we will also be covering, we will also be covering all events happening at San Francisco Blockchain Week live. We're going to be doing some live streams down there, hopefully hosting some different interviews, and having a good old time.
I might go renegade on my own account.
Yes, well, this may be actually the first time we see Crypto Goth actually put some stuff out. By the way, everybody make her get her Instagram page together or not her Instagram page, her Facebook page. It's still just a blank shell.
It is. Even on my past Facebook accounts, I'm not very active, so it's still not joining them. Anyways, sit down and let's talk about stuff before I start poking on those filters and making us look silly.
Okay, yeah. So,
would you like some chocolate?
What?
Breakfast of champions. Come on.
Why not? Yeah, square chocolate for breakfast. That's what we all need, right? Kat, I know that you've been putting together some questions because as we've been doing
and some of them made me laugh, but
right. Well, as we've been doing an STO. We thought that it would be kind of fun to put together a list of the most frequently asked questions by investors, both to ask someone starting an ICO.
No, I only have a handful of questions because they were ones that I thought okay, these are legitimate, and they were actual questions that were put out there by random investors.
Right. So these are actually from the investment community.
Yes, with the exception of the last one, which I just thought it was hilarious. It's a question that was imposed for... an editor said, these are questions that investors should ask themselves when coming to invest. And there was one question that I thought was hilarious. So I'm going to share that one. But first, let's get down to the other ones.
Yeah.
Okay. So the market fluctuates. Sorry, I have it all the way down here. I don't know why. The market fluctuates wildly. Why invest?
Well, that's definitely a good question. And definitely we've seen in blockchain that the markets tend to have wild fluctuations way beyond what we see even in traditional markets, which are already considered to be fairly risky.
Bart Simpson.
Yeah, the Bart Simpson head, which, look it up, folks, that's an actual trade chart that's used in crypto.
It is. The first time you showed me, I was amazed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just line up his head all over the chart.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the reason for investing in blockchain, at least in my opinion, shouldn't be based solely in... what you see as far as the trade charts day to day, because since it is technology based and because it is a system that has such rapid advancement, as well as a lot of things reach their shelves very, very quickly.
Right.
The way that I've always traded, and I've been trading for a long time, the way that I've always kind of taken the philosophy of it is that you should trade based in the technology itself, not in its pure capital market value. And that's something that's a lot different than in the traditional markets, where in traditional markets, most companies, in order to make their value, they rely on doing an IPO, being acquired, being able to do that next sale. They rely on a bunch of arbitrary market factors that are largely dependent on speculation and conjecture. In blockchain, even though there is that aspect to it, and that definitely is something that influences the market. I mean, we've seen for sure, especially over even the last couple of weeks, we've seen a big dive in the speculative markets.
Right.
At the same time, the crypto is much more black and white. There's either does it have value or does it not have value, and value can be seen as can you take that token and exchange that token for a tangible good or a service that will actually benefit you, something that's actually going to make you money or to help with your business or to allow you to buy a certain item or anything like that. And if the answer to any of that is no, don't invest in it, because no matter, if Bitcoin
then
jumps,
move on.
Right, well, if Bitcoin jumps up $2,000 and drops down $2,000 back and forth, that looks really bad, but the thing is, though, is that you can still, in a very reliable way, calculate out, okay, what does Bitcoin allow me to do? It gives me security, it gives me anonymity, and it gives me the ability to transact financial transactions of any size outside of the banking system for very cheaply.
Right.
You can figure out how much that's worth to you, and if Bitcoin's worth more than that at the time, don't buy it.
Right. And okay, so in there you said traditional markets. When it comes down to it, when it comes to the investors that would be on normally the most traditional markets, and they're looking to kind of, because I've seen it, they look to kind of, they have their curiosities. They want to jump over. They want to join the dark side. When it comes down to that, it was a question that was imposed by a traditional market investor who says, who can I trust to help me learn about this industry?
Yeah, that's wow.
That's a really good question.
That's a really good question because, again,
there are some scammy...
There's a lot of scammy stuff.
Yeah.
And honestly, from what I've seen, some of the worst scamish stuff is actually what's being done in, the colleges and whatnot. Because the thing is that right now, blockchain is so early on in its development still that the majority of the experts in the field, and I'm talking about the real experts, the people who are indisputably the most brilliant minds in space, they're hackers, they're cyber terrorists, they're thieves.
Now, are these just labels? Okay, like children in school, are they just being labeled as bad people because they're taking an alternate route? Right.
Well, and the thing is that is a large portion of it, because the thing is that the hackers and whatnot. A lot of them, they're the hacktivists, they're the ecological hackers, they're the ones that have been trying to take a stand for the better. Right. But the thing is, they are on the outskirts. And what it means is that when you talk about people who are willing to go and sit in a boardroom, follow all the rules of traditional markets, and teach those people on, okay, this is how all this stuff works, it's not the people that really built these systems and care about these systems because they care about the trustless economic model. Right. It's people that said, oh, I can make a quick buck because all these people have a lot of money and are used to paying a lot of money for information. The thing with blockchain is really, if you want the best information, get it yourself. Because in blockchain, if it's a true blockchain project, Bitcoin, Ethereum, anything like that, it is transparent and it's open source, which means that anyone has access to all of it. And so you don't have to pay for information in this space. All information is distributed to the public by route. And so, that's... Mindo Maker says, gotta know how to break stuff to build things that are hard to break. That's very true. And that's the thing, is that the people who built this space, they often were kind of the black sheep of the technological community. But the reason why so many of them glommed onto blockchain is not because of what's spun on the news about it being the dark web currency and everything. Look at blockchain forensics are being used right now. Actually, just yesterday there was a report that came out that basic blockchain forensics, which are open source tools that anyone on the planet has access to, they're not exclusive to law enforcement or anything, were just used to shut down 233 darknet sites that were using Bitcoin as their source of payment. The reason they're able to do this is because it's a transparent, open system.
Right.
You're not hiding anything.
No, it's like oh, because it's Bitcoin and it's the system, we can easily escape.
Right. Well, I mean, these sites, they included
true.
drug sites, they included child pornography, they included,
Right.
all of these different things
Like,
that
really, people, come on.
the reality of it is that blockchain does not help those systems to exist. Blockchain is actually their antithesis. And the reason why so many of the hackers would want to join into it is because most of the hacking community are anarchists, but they're anarchists who are unsatisfied with what the status quo has given them, has offered them. And so this is making it so that you don't have to trust the middleman. You don't have to rely on some big brother entity to keep you safe or to protect your children or to stop drugs from moving. The middleman usually
ends up being some chippy little bastard that wants to charge you too much for his undeserving share.
Exactly. So, I mean, again, I know we've kind of gotten away from the original question, but just, I mean, getting back to it, the best source of information is to look at it yourself. And that's any reputable blockchain project. You can lift the hood, you can see what's underneath, and you can see for yourself. Does it work? Does it not work? There's very little else that needs to be
Lesson today, children, just like back in school, do your own homework.
Right. Well, I mean, and it all boils down, I mean, no matter how complex computers get, they'll always boil down to a Boolean equation. Yes or no. 1 or 0. Does it work? Does it not work? There's very little room for conjecture or dissemination.
Okay, so one of these was imposed by a investor that wanted to ask, what are ICOs and are they scammy?
A lot of them, yes. Straight up, yes. Real quick before we answer that, Mendo Maker. The only kind of protection that blockchain transactions offer to illicit activity is that sometimes it gets lost in the noise of other transactions. Yeah, I mean, that's both yes and no. Because the thing is that as soon as you associate an address with, let's say, an illicit website that's selling drugs,
right.
As soon as you have that website, you have an immutable list of every other address and every transaction hash that is ever connected to that address. Which means that, I mean, really, the only way that you're going to be able to really help with an anonymous transaction that you're really trying to hide in the midst, I guess, would be let's say your Walmart, for instance, who's now using VeChain, and they chose to because they're doing trillions of VeChain transactions a month right now. Let's say they hid 1 or 2 in there, they might get away with it, but even then, it's so transparent, it's so easy to see and trace those transactions that as soon as one transaction ends up outside the normal data stream, it's a red flag that not just the Walmart control officers can see, or not just law enforcement can see, but every person on the planet can see it.
Right, so all it takes is somebody curious looking for those things to actually go through. And
right, exactly. I mean, honestly, just having one curious, that nosy next door neighbor that everybody hates.
That one snitch on the street going hey, look what they're doing.
Pretty much. I mean, and then you have a lot of blockchains now that because they're designed to work within the regulatory system, they'll even have controls in place that will literally send a message out to everybody. Yeah. Saying, over here.
Mass email, let's CC everyone we can.
Pretty much. So yeah, I mean, it's not things, but so back to your question though. The
scammy ICOs,
yeah.
Or you want to?
No, we'll stick with that one. So the question was, what are ICOs and are they scammy?
Right.
And as I said, yes. For the most part, many of them are. Not all of them. What an ICO is what. ICO stands for Initial Coin Offering, and it is the crypto equivalent of an IPO for a company, initial position offering, where you're selling your initial stock or whatever it is, equity in the company, and it's the sale of tokens in place of equity to be able to raise funds to build the project. Now, let's say 2017, which was it was the year of the ICO. In which there were hundreds of ICOs conducted. And even more than that, there were thousands of coins that were created. I mean, there was one point on coinmarketcap.com, which is the foremost source on initial information on any given cryptocurrency, where there was often, over 5,000 coins listed at any given point. Now, at this point, those are down to less than 2,000 coins. The reason for this is because there were many ICOs that were conducted that were either blatantly scams, such as Lunarcoin, or
I didn't hear anything, did you?
Yeah, nothing. Or I mean, there was also many where there were groups because blockchain was so. The understanding the majority of the populace had was very lacking. People had heard a little bit about it through, some CoinDesk article, or because it was on CNBC with Ripple's Fast Money, or anything like that, and decided they were, we're going to start our own ICO. And some of them did this with malicious intent. Many others did it simply not knowing what they were doing. Right. Coins that had great noble intent but zero ability for follow through. And the reason why ICOs largely got, to be seen as being, this is such a scammy thing, and everyone should stay away from them, is because in an IPO, with a regular company, those can take years to just get to the point where they're off the ground, and then once they're going, they can take decades sometimes to close. Which means that things move very slowly. There's a lot of rules in place to make it so that only the largest, biggest traditional entities are even allowed to put their money in. There's a huge amount of due diligence that's done on every single part of it, and
I've seen those stats.
Yeah, and so it creates a scenario in which, first of all, very few people are even allowed to invest,
right.
And out of those, the level of scrutiny is insanely high. ICOs opened up a new form of investing that could be done very quickly. Most ICOs were conducted in under 10 days from start to finish. They would raise a large amount of money. They could raise it from anyone, so there was no restrictions on who could and who couldn't participate. Right. There was no restrictions on the amount of money that could be used, et cetera, et cetera. And so it created a market rush mentality. It created this, this frenzy of, I've got to get in before it closes.
Right.
And so you had a lot of people that skip those due diligence steps. But if you look at it, even in IPOs, 80% of them come out, they're either unsustainable or they're scams.
Right.
It's no different, it just happens quicker. And that's, like on the other side, you will see that sometimes that was to a great advantage, such as one of my favorite projects out there, Decentraland, which is for those who haven't checked out, you definitely should.
That's what about when I first started working with you?
Yeah. Okay. It's a decentralized VR world that's made for full e-commerce and sustainability. Amazing system. But their ICO, it closed in 7 seconds.
Wow.
They raised $26 million.
We need those investors.
Yeah, right. So Vindomaker had said something else while we were on there. Vindomaker says, or when someone automates the forensic process and it shows you automatically. Yeah, well that's exactly it. Is what we were talking about before. Is that many of these systems are now actually creating markers that anytime a transaction acts outside of the preordained data stream, it will actually send out an alert across the entire block explorer and alert everyone. The beautiful thing with that, though, is that by doing that, it doesn't send an alert out just to one small group or to the people using one application. It sends out over the blockchain itself, which means that no matter what block explorer you're using, you'll get that information, which is a incredibly powerful tool because it also divorces you from the need to use a specific tool to still receive the information.
Okay, so the last serious question, because I am going to ask that silly one that I ran across, asked by an investor, will blockchain see wide-scale commercial and government adoption?
It already is. I
know. But this is talking...
Right.
How would you explain that to somebody who is on the more traditional market, who is venturing over?
Right. Well, what I would say, and this is something where,
because they still
right.
don't understand that
it's a given that, especially here in the United States, we are almost, in a weird way, by being in the United States, one of the largest first world countries in the world that has connections all over the globe, we are incredibly isolated from the rest of the planet.
We live in a bubble.
We really do. And the rest of the world is way ahead of us when it comes to blockchain adoption.
Right.
Here in the U.S., there are pretty much no major companies using blockchain.
Right.
Government entities have a near phobia of it that is unmatched just about anywhere other than mainland China. the lack of understanding of blockchain here is staggering. But if you look elsewhere in the world, what I would point out to the traditional style investors or businessmen who are curious about blockchain is that elsewhere in the world, blockchain has not only been used to has been implemented in government and commercial infrastructure, but it has allowed for a massive amount of scaling in government and commercial infrastructure.
Right.
Business examples can be seen with VeChain, which has now got a partnership with German Volkswagen.
Yes.
Who now all Volkswagen parts from start to finish are being tracked through VeChain system.
Nice.
Another example of commercialization is all of the Walmarts in Asia are now exclusively using VeChain for all supply chain tracking. Already in the past quarter alone, just one quarter, the estimated savings that Walmart has accrued from not having to use other tracking systems and from being able to mitigate the amount of material that is either lost or misappropriated or anything like that has saved them over $40 million US value. That's in 3 months. And then if you look at government entities, you look at, first of all, one example, and maybe not the one that most traditional market makers are going to see as the most important, but a huge thing is that blockchain adoption has been massive, especially in third world countries, in places that have developing infrastructure. We've seen this in Nigeria. We've seen this actually pretty much throughout all of Africa. We've seen this through several of the poorer countries in Asia, especially in West Asia. We've seen this all through the Middle East as well, where these countries are using blockchain to be able to create suddenly be able to take what was very isolated economies where they had very little connection to the outside world, little ability to move even large amounts of natural resources they had into global markets, are now able to instantly connect even the smallest villages into the global economic infrastructure, build value, bring money in, increase their own standing. And we also see just some funny things like in the country of Georgia, where they literally were able, because of how quickly blockchain allowed them to go through the whole permitting process, which in a country with such small infrastructure, to get a permit to build a large-scale building could often take between 3 and 8 months to get.
Right.
It's now a drive-through.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And see, that's why I always think the U.S. needs to pick up an oar.
Right.
Like, we really need to get out there because our government and our system here, our little bubble we live in, we tend to educate everybody in the sense of, oh, these are third world countries and we are far beyond them. But the truth is like now these third world countries are beaming past us.
Right. Well, and that's things like with what...
and it's because they just accept it.
Right. Well, like with Nigeria, they've been very aggressively scaling their infrastructure through blockchain.
Nigeria.
And with what they're doing, their economic growth pattern over the past 2 years since they started their blockchain scaling program, which I'll point out, they started their scaling program 2 years ago. They only implemented it about 8 months ago. They're one of the fastest growing economies out there right now.
Yeah.
Which nobody is paying attention to, but they are. And the reason why nobody's paying attention is because they're still way down there. But they're growing.
But they're growing aggressively, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. It reminds me of that, and yes, I'm doing a movie reference, the movie Species, when they were watching the cellular growth, of this alien form, and you see it just bubbling over, and I feel like that's what Nigeria's doing. It's like they're in the petri dish, and they're literally starting to bubble over.
Right. Well, and then if you want to look at a more high-tech example, Dubai, the richest localization of wealth on the planet, which actually almost 3 years ago they put out a mandate that they would have the world's first Ethereum-powered smart city by 2020. We ain't that far away from that, and already from friends of mine over there, a large portion of their infrastructure is already switched over to it. Everything from the security and even key to your house, which is literally an Ethereum private key that literally grants you access in and out of your house. Utilities are all on micropayments to make it so that you flip the switch on, you're paying for only the exact amount of electricity that you use, deducted direct from your Ethereum wallet.
Wow. See, that's a beautiful thing, folks.
Exactly, and we see the same thing happening over in Germany, where Germany's entire electric and train grid are now both being monitored with an ERC-20 system that allows for instant real-time tracking of all of the resources being used, ensuring that there's no wasted electricity. There's no
right.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're not going to get dipped on a charge that you're using this. It's like what was that one? There was one fellow I used to ride the train with, and I hated it because he got off so many stops after me, but we were paying the same price for a bus pass. And I didn't understand how I was getting so gypped when I was getting
right, exactly. And I mean, the beautiful thing is that one thing that I've had people that have been concerned about the idea of smart city because it means that your every move is going to be tracked. Well, that's the other beautiful thing about the pseudo anonymity of blockchain is that there's an address that's being tracked for information. That address, it is not something that's branded into your skin like the.
Although that would be kind of cool.
Well, no, that movie in Time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not like that. It's a thing where you can go, you can get this address. There's no verification on these addresses. The address is yours. If you own the private key, it's your address. That's connected to these different utility payments and whatnot, very similar to a credit card.
Right. It's the same as having it on your phone and waving it at the checkout stand at the store.
Exactly. Or actually even less than that because your name, social security number, and birthday aren't attached to it. Right. It's truly, it actually gives you more freedom of movement than the current system.
I think that's beautiful.
So what I would say to traditional investors, I guess the final recap there, what I'd say to traditional investors that are worried about, is blockchain even scalable? Is it going to be adopted by the commercial industry? What I'd say is that if they don't know that already, then they're already behind the times because the rest of the world is adopting it. Everyone from the richest city-state on the globe all the way to the poorest villages in Africa are already using this to scale. Right.
They just got to get out of the little bubble. We need to get out of the bubble, folks.
Well, I think it's hilarious also that, just back to the thing about Walmart.
Yeah.
Walmart's in Asia, and now the ones in Europe are starting to take it on as well, are using VeChain system in order to save them millions of dollars a month. At this point, you're getting on hundreds of thousands of dollars a day almost that they're being saved. Walmart, the Walmart coalition or conglomeration or whatever it is here in the United States, put out a statement saying that under no circumstances would they use it. Why? Your own company is saving huge amounts of money, other parts of your own company saving huge amounts of money using it. Why?
I once worked for a place that literally, it was a boutique. We did retail. And it was a mom and pop place. And I kid you not, we were losing thousands of dollars from people just jacking from the store. Refused to get cameras. Okay. Did not want to pay for security system. Terrified of change because they were so used to the traditional everyday, don't worry about it, things happen. When we ran the numbers, we were losing at least $15,000 in retail a month. Yeah. That's a lot for a small mom and pop company. And it would only cost you a couple thousands to get a really, really good security system that would track this for you, including the little alarms at the door.
Yeah.
But did not want to do it because they didn't want to spend that much money right then and there.
Yeah.
But yet you're losing so much money every month.
Well, and
doesn't make any sense.
Even more staggering is the fact is that it doesn't cost anything to get hooked up with a system like what they're doing. The cost is training employees, I guess.
Right.
But
sorry, I've trained way too many employees.
Even then, though, it's staggering to me that an organization can see that the left hand is saving millions of dollars by using this different piece of software, but because the software is this evil software that's going to destroy the corporate world, the right hand says
it's just tossing the money out. It is, and that's exactly what's happening. Right. It's like, oh well, we could save all this, but
yeah, exactly.
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
Pick up that or so for the silly question.
Remember, folks, before I know what this question is. remember, this is an actual, as much as it pains me, it's a legitimate question.
It is.
That investors have actually asked.
It is. And there's other ones that I would love to throw out there too, but let's not waste time on all of them. So the one that I most enjoyed was, as an investor, do I enjoy roller coasters? I just thought that was funny.
I mean, I'm aware that an investment can be kind of like a roller coaster with the up and down.
Right.
But really, folks? Really? Come on. No.
The other one was, do I like Vegas?
Yeah, well, roll the dice.
I just thought those were fun.
Oh, jeez. So, yeah, I mean, and then I guess a couple other last updates that we have before we're done here today. We are getting kind of close to our wrap-up.
Yes.
Is, first of all, KingRoyal Industries website has had a lot of new content.
It's revamped.
All thanks to this beautiful person here.
I don't do much on the interwebs, but when I do,
it looks good. So definitely.
But tell us what you think.
Yeah.
I love constructive criticism. Please go over to my Instagram, CryptoGoth. Drop me a DM because I do love criticism on these things. I like to be able to tweak things and make it beautiful for you.
Well, and I mean, the system that we're building, the Sovereign Network, the Sword Token, the Crown Token, these are meant to be global systems that are meant to represent and be for you, the public, everyone who's, everyone who's out there who wants to make use of these things. So please
Thank you, Daniel.
let us know what you think. If you have ideas, if you have criticisms, let us know either through the KingRoyal page or through CryptoGoth's page, and we're always happy to take consideration of everything. We have all of the new white papers are listed over on the site, so you'll be able to read all about the Sovereign Network, the protocol layers that we have going on. You'll be able to read about the tokens.
Go in there and push all my buttons.
Exactly. And then obviously also link over to our investment wallet so that if you read all that stuff, you're inspired, you want to get your hands on some sword tokens, drop that as well. Thank you very much, Clay. It's good to be back in action. Very good.
We missed you too.
Yeah, we definitely missed you. So go over and check all that stuff out. We're going to be putting up some other new releases here pretty soon. Going to be getting our podcast going again since we kind of fell off of that a little bit.
We've been busy.
Yeah, we've been very busy. But
join us at Blockchain, especially if you follow me. I am planning on shenanigans. I'm sorry, I have to.
Oh yeah, no, we're going to be all over Blockchain Week San Francisco. We're going to be doing live streams of every event that we're going to be going to. We're going to be doing some live streams at some exclusive parties that are going on after the events, and we're going to generally just be trying to get out as much information as we can. So also if you happen to be down there, tune into our live streams and stalk us, hunt us down, come over, creep on us, say hi,
take
whatever you want.
Take a picture with me because I love taking pictures.
Exactly. So yeah, you got anything else? I think that's just about it, right?
Yeah, that's just about it.
All right. Well, hey guys, thank you so much.
Really enjoyed having you guys this morning.
And join us again next week for Crypto and Coffee.
Shut it down.